Oh, okay. Oh, right. So instead of writing JavaScript for a page, you can write it use okay, like the 8 billion customers. Oh, is that really? That's oh yeah. It says the features disabled. It's got this weird quality.
We don't know what's on my 1 year.
Yes. Like thumbs up and thumbs down in varying points. Like when you like them, you can give it a thumbs up.
That's fantastic.
And it gives pinpoints. On like a timeline.
That's handy.
Yeah.
Usually, if you drive, you see one drive about 4 ways.
Feels like it's
You
going
look
to
to be
break.
breaking it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So it's got
And with the finest Adobe through many hours, freeze dried. We're just trying to get this set right. Like 2 or 3 minutes. Caesar button. Yes, whatever your history is, no. I just read that. That shows you on the time. What to do is, a couple of Caesar buttons. You try to, yes.
It'll be in there as well.
ah, brilliant. Okay, cool. So now
What you have to do is when you plug it in, you have to catch it when it says card. It goes card. It goes all. It gave me options anyway, and I had to catch the
cool.
right one.
I need to unplug it and put it on the extension thing. Would you mind taking it across there? Cool, so if I plug it in, Jamie.
Last time we played, yeah. It's beautiful, right? Because it gets noisy from the computers. I think this is the best place. Are you all good for
You didn't know there was pizza.
He's like a chairman. He walks into a room like work together at Sky. Stand there. That's what he's just very conscious about the right thing. Yeah. So he's very good. But he's off with. Yeah, well, basically, so yeah, as usual. So
Very round stars, everyone grab a seat and or a drink. If you don't grab a drink, grab a drink. Friendly. Sorry. Hey.
You're at handshake. Damn, third time's the charm, huh? Oh, totally.
But always.
Perfect. Welcome. I'm feeling it. Cool. Yeah, really welcome. Yeah, thanks for coming along. It's great to see so many people here again. Over the summer, we feel like we've just kind of grown and grown, and more people are getting involved. So it's good to see some new faces and those old faces. Not like old. Yeah, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to go through. So if there's a fire, the way you came in is the way out. Or if there's a fire here, you can get out there. There's toilets. think that's pretty much all of them. Yeah. Also, if you've got any questions or you want to ask us anything or give us any comments, then grab me or Ben. And yeah, you can talk to us about just about pretty much anything. Yeah, so obviously we've got to say a huge thanks to our sponsors because they're great. Firstly, White October have let us use this office for the last 3 years, and as we've got progressively more invasive and moved all the desks and moved all the chairs. So yeah, huge thanks to them, and also a huge thanks to Haybrook, of which Sarah is here. So I don't know, do you want to say that?
Yeah, come on. So I work at Haybrook IT. I'm the managing consultant now. We do IT recruitment, so no hard sell. We're just here purely to support you guys, sponsor you, buy you beers, drinks, but also just to learn a bit more as well, because we appreciate that recruitment agencies don't necessarily have the best impression in the market. All right, keep the sniggers, it's fine. But we're hoping to sort of break that barrier, and it's not about. Oh,
Sorry.
It's not about stealing away from your jobs or making use as an agency. It's just about relationship building. So I'm around for like the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much.
I think I say this every time as well, but you should kind of chat to Sarah because she's quite nice as well as cool. So we got 2 talks this evening. I made the mistake of asking how people wanted to be introduced. So first up, we have Richard Evans, who's going to talk us through. Hang on, that's the wrong way round. Who put it the wrong way round?
You did.
Cool. So I'm going to start that again because I need to get this right, because it's Rich Evans, trainer balloon chicken keg.
Yeah.
Talking about NPM for adventurers. So if we have a round of applause for
Well, good evening. Hello. My name's Rich, and today I'm talking about NPM Publish. This is me. I was about to do a 10 kilometer monster run. You were there. I was looking at Ryan. But I dragged myself there, and then I was feeling really ill, and I dragged myself home. And I completely forgot that I had a huge number on my phone. That's kind of what happens. There's my details on Twitter, GitHub, and NPM, because I am on NPM now. My day job is I work as an engineer at Elsevier. That is a publishing company with offices across the world. They do a lot of publishing of journals. If you've heard of the medical journal Lancet, this is the company that publishes it. My day-to-day work involves indexing, discovering, and making lots of making lots of journal content available online. Uses a lot of the AWS stack and pretty much mainly Java with a little bit of JavaScript to put some front ends on that. Open source-wise, I've been a Spring committer for about 3 years, working on pretty much the full stack of Spring. If you're old JavaScript guys who've never done any Java stuff, then it's a Java framework. It's got lots of XML and beans. And okay. And if you are into Java or use it, it's pretty ubiquitous. So you've probably used it, which is cool, which is a thing. However, all my open source contributions to date have been around Spring and Java. That includes Groovy and integration with JRuby and stuff like that. I have certainly consumed lots of Node modules, and I've written loads of private Node modules for various contracts, but I have never contributed anything back to the community. So I'm going to change that. In the next maybe 10-15 minutes, I will create and publish a module to the NPM registry. And I was really inspired to do that. I know I sound American, but maybe, but I'm not. But I'm going to be cheesy and say I was inspired to do this by one man. He's a legend. I'm going to talk about him like he's not really here. That's it. I put a horrible filter on it because if you stare too long at the thumb, it looks really. That was totally unintentional. I went, oh yeah. A month ago, I was sitting where you were sat at the last JS Oxford, and Ben gave a really cool presentation. It hit a lot of the touchstones that I like when I'm listening to presentations. It was engagingly delivered. It had little bits of crunch, not too much. I just want ideas that I can then go off and Google myself. And kind of threaded and stitched it all together by telling us a cool story about relationships and running and stuff like that. Yeah. And I thought it was cool. And so, yeah, I'm there for you. Okay. If you subscribe to Ben's Twitter, I first started coming to these JS Oxford things about a year ago. You will know that Ben loves emojis. He's like all over them. July 15th evidently is the best day ever. And Spike Heap is Ryan over here. And yeah, I don't know why it's the best day ever. Oh, okay.
It's because the calendar emoji is July 15th.
That kind of makes sense. Maybe. But yeah, Ben really loves emojis. He named our last meetup this cool emoji thing, but I think Ryan is the voice of reason, prevailed upon him to change it. And then Marcus, this MVP, stepped up and changed the side because it was all horrible boxes with crosses inside them. Does that kind of make sense? Sum, end, fast forward, loudspeaker, yeah, game on. Ben really does like emojis, but he also uses them as a teaching tool. So this is an important JavaScript thing. Why is it an important JavaScript thing, Ben?
JavaScript is very interesting the way they deal with like emoji characters.
Evidently,
yeah.
Right.
It's very.
So we've had three. This is the last one. This is the one that really inspired me to give this talk today. If you look at the date, it's the 13th of May, 2014, and it's almost 2016 now. I have been puzzling for this one for about a year. I'm slightly hamming it up. I haven't been sent home looking at this for hours on end, but I have been kind of ambushing people. Hey, how you doing? What do you think this means? Because I don't know, man. It's like a face, and then a G, and an X, and a speaker, and a book, and a screen. But then there's the thing that really drew me to it, and that's #JavaScript Adventure Club #level 1. I'm thinking this is a challenge from Ben, right? If you want to join the JavaScript Adventure Club, then if you follow the instructions in the emojis, you can level up. And who doesn't want to join the JavaScript Adventure Club, right? It's a club, it's community, it's support, building. I like all that. We got that at JS Oxford. It's JavaScript. I'm into that. Cool. There's important things to learn about that. And it's adventure. Adventure sounds cool. I don't do a huge amount of that when publishing online journals. And this dude here that you can't really see, this dude, that's Ollie Evans, and he too is a founder member of the JavaScript Adventure Club. So I've been wanting to join this club, and about 3 weeks ago, I cracked it, and that's why I'm giving this talk this evening. So woot. Skip over there. I did feel really bad for about a year. This was me until about 3 weeks ago. So yes, let's look at some code instead of just blathering on about emojis. Who's used NPM here? I'm guessing most folks are. Like I say, I've consumed lots of stuff, modules from NPM, but I've never actually written one back. For full disclosure, I know we're online and become able to. I have had horrible experiences presenting with demos that don't work, so I have preempted this, and I'm actually published for a couple of days now. But all right. Cool. Let's look at some code. What I'm going to do is I am a colonial from South Africa originally, but I'm going to do a Blue Peter thing. That's where you do a little bit of stuff, and then you go, oh, here's a huge chunk that I prepared earlier, and smash it in. Because watching someone write a node module, I don't know if that's really that interesting. All I'm doing here is creating a package for my node module. And this node module is super simple. Like I say, I've written loads of modules previously, but I've never published them. Most of the modules are to do with my work, which involves journals and indexing and searching. There's lots of Elasticsearch and AWS and Lambdas, but I went for the easiest one that I could pluck out of the group. And that's a predicate that just determines whether an ISSN is a valid ISSN or not. It's a really simple, pure function. You pass in a string of text, and it returns a truthy or falsy value, and that's it. So there's nothing awesome and amazing about this particular module. The first thing I'm going to do is use NPM. NPM is both a registry and it's a tool for managing packages. And hurrah! Okay, it's going to ask me lots of questions about Node. I'm going to go for 0.9.9 because, like I say, Blue Peter style, I've done a lot of work already. Okay, and at the end of the presentation, I'll bump it up to 1.0 and publish it. Hurrah! I guess ISSN, index, test command. We like tests. Woo! Yeah, there we go. That was okay. Not so, I guess nobody else likes tests. I just want to go Jasmine test.js. Hurrah! I don't have a Git repository, so I'll smash ahead of that. ISSN validation mission. Hurrah! License. I'll just accept that. It's accepted a lot of defaults, and off we go. If I list this directory, we can see that interaction with NPM has generated a file called package.json. And that's metadata about the module that I'm about to create. NPM is not just for Node modules. I've been saying that a lot, but a lot of the modules that I've written are for Angular. So even though we're going to use NPM and a Node tool, it can be used for pretty much any JavaScript module, Backbone, Ember, whatever you like. You could also publish Python to it if you wanted. There's nothing stopping you doing that. It would be kind of weird. Nobody's ever going to go to NPM looking for Python modules. But pretty much this is your module. It's metadata about it, and it could be about anything. If we skip ahead, all right, we're going to go look at some Blue Peter style stuff that I wrote earlier. So as you can see, I filled in a whole bunch of stuff. Hurrah! Hurrah! If I bring up the README, all you can do in this is require it, install it, require it on line 14, and validate, passing in a string, and it returns true or false. We use this quite a lot because we're indexing 40,000 journals with millions of articles, and if the ISSNs are wrong, through keying errors or whatnot, then it kind of makes that content not discoverable. So we get about 4 or 5% sometimes of bad ISSNs, and a simple function like this allows us to identify them, fix them, and make more content discoverable that way. What is going on there? Awesome. Hurrah! Okay. Yes, I do use IntelliJ. In 2004, as part of joining Spring, I got a free license because JetBrains supports open source. And I pretty much used all of the JetBrains IDEs, whether it be Python or WebStorm or whatever, since then. I think they're great. Nothing against Emacs or Vi. I use Vi quite a lot as well. Something I would like to point out, and something I don't like. When I started writing this module, the first thing that I wrote was the tests. These tests are not super amazing. They're pretty simple, but I don't like that it's a lot of donkey work. I'm having to do 2 nested describes, then an it, then an expect, and eventually only on line 13 am I getting to the meat of this particular stuff. I would really appreciate somebody giving a talk on property-based testing in JavaScript. It doesn't have to be in JavaScript specifically. We can use something like Hypothesis from Python, because this is donkey work. It doesn't energize me. I do it because I do test-first development, and this allows me to know when I'm finished. A really cool plugin that you get for JetBrains IDEs is called Wallaby, and this little marker. There's a little marker down there. Honestly, it's green. It is honestly. Here's the code for my little module. Nothing special about it. Oops. There we go. Hurrah! And there is a test failing. It's gone red. Now if I go over here, eventually somebody somewhere, it will tell me that this is failing. And I find it a lot easier to work within an IDE, and it's giving me constant feedback all the time. So if you can use Wallaby.js and you're kind of invested in IntelliJ and JetBrains, please do. I know I'm selling it kind of hard. I don't get any kickbacks or anything. At the last presentation, there was at the last JS Oxford, there was quite a lot of you must use Emacs. No, let's go back to the old school with some fat IDEs. Does anyone use JetBrains or the like? Woo! Whoa! Man, you're on fire. Okay. Cool. All right. I've got some stuff. This is a slightly richer version of package.json. One of the things I like about this stupid little ISSN validation function is that it's pure. You feed in a string and it returns true or false. This means I can compose it into larger applications. Certainly, I'm sure we've all worked on applications where you open up a Java file and it's 2,000 lines long and crumble. That's even in a world where there is Spring and there is Jigsaw and ways to modularize your code. This NPM and the registry, it makes it so simple to do it. I have about, 10, 15 modules that are going to flood in after this first one. I've done all of this. I filled in my dependencies and whatnot. NPM allows you to depend on other modules in your module descriptor. If you look at this, I know it's a little small, but you can see that I have runtime dependencies on 3 libraries down there at the bottom, and they're all pinned. I'm a fan of depending on exactly the one version. You can use Woolly specifiers here to say I'm interested in Git state-in, and I'll accept anything that's 4.0 and above. So patch releases will increment the third number on the end, so 4.0.2. But because I've pinned it, I'm not going to get any of that value add. But that's good. I like de-risking things. I don't want to have it work on my box and then have my continuous integration system install all of the dependencies, and in that window, somebody has updated git-std-in with a patch or a minor improvement, which breaks. And then you get that whole whining thing that we as developers do, which is, oh, it works on my machine. And that's really lame and not good. However, one of the downsides of pinning your dependencies like this is that we're back to donkey work. This pushes the work onto the responsibility onto me to monitor Gexbit in Lodash and Minimus for bug fixes, new features, new major releases. And as a developer, that doesn't energize me. I get nothing from it. I don't want to do that, but I still want to de-risk. So a new project, pretty much kind of like a month old. Oh, I did have it somewhere. Yay! Is Greenkeeper. Hopefully some of you have heard of Greenkeeper and are using it. It's free for public modules. And the idea behind this one is that you have all the benefits of pinning your dependencies. So I depend on exactly this one, and that will work on my box and Ryan's box and our continuous integration box as well. And if we, as I've said, I did slightly pull the trigger on this one. For those of us that use GitHub, the pull request is kind of a natural model, a way of working. And what Greenkeeper does, it's really simple. It's 2 command line invocations to start up. And like I say, it's free for public modules. It will monitor all the dependencies that you have pinned, and when one of them changes. So in this case, expect.js just got bumped up to 1.12.2. It will automatically create a pull request on your code base and give that to you. And this means that those changes are being pushed to me. So I can just go to my usual pull request page. I've probably integrated Travis or some sort of continuous integration, and hurrah! All of my checks have passed. The tests pass with the dependency that has been bumped up, and now I can just accept that particular pull request. Or if I don't want to bump it up, I can just ignore it or delete that pull request. But these changes are now being pushed to me. If you want to use private modules, it's a paid-for service, but it's really cheap. I think it's like $7. I think this is great. Is anyone using Greenkeeper here? Wow, you're on the cutting edge of everything, man.
You broke my site. I don't have good enough tests.
Oh.
Yeah. That was so just told me something.
Yes. All right. Yes, this is true. If you don't have any tests, then I use an IDE, WallyBJS. It gives me instant feedback right there in the IDE about how much code coverage I've got, and I haven't had that problem for a while. Just saying. I'm not here to shame anybody. Absolutely not. I've been there. I'm not there now, but I have been there. Hurrah! And here is an example of my node module. And I did type npm publish, and it is now live for a few days now. And we can see that my build is passing. I've integrated it into Travis. It's not the world's most exciting module, but it is my first one. It is published. And now the kind of onslaught can begin, because I do lots of Java open source. And now I've done one small snippet of JavaScript. And evidently it's being used. This is not me. It's tiny compared to Spring, but it's a start, right? And it's useful. I would certainly encourage you to do it because it's quite easy now that I've done it. I haven't showed you the steps, but npm init, type some code, do some tests, npm publish, and up it goes. And people can now discover and pull down your module. Good stuff. Boing. Boing. So yeah. If I come back to this, I think I have figured it out. I didn't realize Ben was going to make it quite so hard, but it's kind of obvious when you look at it now. If we look at it here, this face man, I thought it was something to do with A-Team originally, but it isn't. This is a guy. Yeah. The G is a G, but if you pronounce it like a kid, you go gut. Axe is axe, but if you kind of glue all those together, you get axe, and that's Gygax. That immediately makes you think of E. Gary Gygax, one of the designers of Dungeons and Dragons, right? I'm not making this up. It's okay. The speaker, I think that's literal, just like Ryan was literal earlier on with the pig, bacon, potato thing. So I've been given a talk. I've been speaking. There's one at the end. It kind of falls out of knowing that it's E. Gary Gygax, because this dude here, this person rather, I think they're screaming an existential horror. So horror is the word. This is a book. It was a bit puzzling. Yeah. But another word for a type of book is a tome. But if you kind of squint your ears, tome becomes tomb. So now I've got E. Gary Gygax speaking about Tomb of Horrors. And Tomb of Horrors was the first published adventure tournament style for AD&D back in 1978. Obviously, right? There's one more writer, right? In D&D land, the term for a published adventure is module. So if you speak about publishing a module, you can level up with the JavaScript Adventure Club. A little codicil to this. I'm hoping that we will get a tweet in the next few days from Ben telling us how to level up to the second level of the JavaScript Adventure Club. Thank you, dude. You're a legend. You're a legend. I have some questions. I would like to request talks about Browserify and Babel and property-based testing in JavaScript. Because this was level 1 and was really easy, but I'm sure that level 2 is going to be much worse. And in a year's time, when I figured out what it means, I'm happy to go there.
We'll pencil you in.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Anything?
We're gonna have some questions. It's just still reeling from that.
Yeah. Tony, it's all you.
I've got a question. How secret is the JavaScript Adventure Club?
It's pretty secret. It's kind of underground.
Yeah. That's exactly
Right. Who here is already a member of the JavaScript Adventure Club?
Would we even know?
Whoa. Hey,
rules.
yes, that's rules. I respect Marcus's, but you couldn't tell us. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
So I have a question about ISO then. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just a regex, or it actually checks a record?
It's just a regex. It's just checking for validity. There's another module that I will release that I compose that one into, and it will go off and do an actual check. Yeah. Small functions, right? That's right. Compose them together. Cool. Hurrah! Thank you.
We've got a few minutes before Richard steps up for the next talk. So if you want to grab another beer, help yourself. They're in the kitchen. Make it fairly quick. Yeah.
Dude, that was like. No. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm just seeing like how close I am. 35
There's two different sheets.
yeah. What? Shit, get him on this phone.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what any of these are. Wireframes, so it's really if I learn about one, I know. Already saving me time, I love it. It is like, oh, this is
You can tell Greg's on holiday. Scroll through it. Hang
You got two businesses? When is that? So like I'm not
So I can see where we're
and I'm gonna need the dangerous game. We almost ran out. Yeah, all right, just get murdered. Programs in a little bit that if it ever gets up to my program. This can't leave. Oh, so would that be a? Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. Are we gonna get more stickers? And what's this the guy doing? What's this green?
Okay, cool. Right. I think we're ready to kind of kick off again. So yeah, the next topic we've got, I'm pretty excited about because I'm lucky enough to get to work with Richard, and I've been being teased about this. So these little bits of information for the last couple of months. So yeah, the next topic we got is Rich Patching. Richard founded Just Add Pixels a few years ago, and he's going to talk to us about Electron.
Awesome. So I'm Richard Patching. I've been running Just Add Pixels for 5 years now. I've been a professional developer since 2008. I'm originally a games developer, and I always said that I would never fall into the web because it's full of boring problems to solve. Here I am, James Watson. I am also a drummer in a band, and this is me in California last year. A little bit of backstory. So we were recording our first album in a little town called Redding, which is in North California. And I've had this kind of love affair with coffee, as most developers do, for around, well, since I did my degree in 2008. So there was a lecturer that I used to hang around with a lot. We used to talk about OpenGL and lots of games programming stuff. And I never ever saw him without a coffee in his hand. And through that, I pretty much got into tanking coffee a lot during my degree. And that kind of developed further as I sort of became, got into development and met other programmers who love coffee. Getting into harder and harder stuff, really. So, whilst I was in California, I started hanging around with a guy who was really cool, and he roasted coffee. And I spent a bit of time with him, and he really inspired me. And so now I actually roast my own coffee. So this is a Costa Rican Terrazzo that I did a few weeks ago. So I take it from the green beans to it being roasted, and then ship it off. I actually do this professionally as a side business, as well as running a software development company, a record label. Yeah. So roasting coffee is the process of taking the coffee from being a green bean at number one, and take it through a phase to whatever roast level you want. So kind of around 4, we're getting to the drying phase where most of the moisture has left the bean. 5, we're looking at a cinnamon roast. 6 is an American roast. Then you're getting into half city, full city plus. And then eventually down here, you're burning your house down. If all the sugars are released, then your beans are on fire. Don't do that. So one of the things that a roaster has to do is developing a roast profile. So when you're roasting coffee, there's so many variables, and the one thing you want is consistency and being able to come up with a consistent roast every single time. And that can change depending on the ambient temperature outside. So, you know, if it's warmer now than it was yesterday when you roasted, then you can end up with the beans getting to a certain temperature quicker than it did yesterday. And then you've got the bean mass and how much moisture is in the beans. And so there's all these variables that we have to track. If you apply a certain amount of gas to your roaster, you'll get there quicker. And so if it's warmer today, then you'll have to use less gas to kind of follow the curves. So what you're trying to do is develop a profile where you say, okay, we need to be hitting these temperatures, and it should get to certain roast points to develop your roast. Whether that's, again, the American, the cinnamon roast, half city plus, whatever. So one of my favorites is pretty much a lighter roast, especially if you're using like South American beans, like an Ethiopian Yerga Chef happens to be my favorite, and I like that as a kind of medium roast. If you go to Starbucks, all you get is dark.
Can I just interrupt and ask a quick question? The washing of a bean, because I asked this in the coffee shop. Do you know about washing beans? Sorry to interrupt with that. Because there's like fully washed, and there's something else that is a bit different.
Yeah, so you can get so when they process the beans, they wash them, but you can have beans that are washed in monsoon rains, so like a monsoon Malabar bean.
Yeah.
An old Java is a bean that's been buried for around 4 years, and is washed in monsoon rains to the point that it's almost rotten, and then roasted, and they're really strong. So old brown Java would be like a really strong coffee. Yeah, so every good work of software starts by scratching a developer's personal itch. So when coming up with an idea, I basically took a week off work and decided that in that week I would write a project. Around 8 to 9 months ago, Ryan introduced Angular into one of our projects. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know why. But he did, and Angular wasn't something I'd used a lot. I've been using sort of Ruby. The framework that our app uses is actually Padrino, which is a bit like Sinatra, but not. It's a kind of fork of Sinatra. So we're using Angular, and I realized that it was a very big gap in my knowledge. So I thought, right, I'm going to take a week off. I'm going to write an MVP application, and I'll use Angular. And so this personal itch of mine is to take my roast logs, so where I've been tracking, 2.5 minutes or at 280 degrees Fahrenheit, and trying to get that consistent roast. That's traditionally done on paper by keeping a roast log. I want to convert that into a digital format for an app. And so that was the personal itch. It's always good to scratch your own itch, just because it keeps you motivated. Whether you're writing open source or a closed source application, you're in it for the long haul, because people want you to either maintain it, or if it's a commercial application, they want to keep selling it. So you're kind of investing in it for long haul. You know, there's nothing worse than writing a knitting app for your wife and then she divorces you or something. And you're left to maintain it. So why desktop? So I decided to go down the desktop route. So we wanted to track the bean temperature, the environment temperature, the exhaust temperature, and the drum temperature. For that, we have to use these little devices. They can be plugged into an external device like below. But for me, I want to plug them all into my machine and track those real time. I can't do that on an iPad, and I can't do that via the web. So desktop was a real good solution for that. But like I said, I want to use Angular. I want to use some web technology. So introducing Electron. So Electron was created by GitHub, and it was originally called Atom Shell. It was built back in 2013 for the Atom code editor, and it enables you to create cross-platform desktop apps. Under the hood, essentially it's Node.js and Chromium. It differs slightly from Node WebKit in that Node WebKit is a fork of Chromium, but Electron uses the Chromium content model, which is essentially the Chrome browser with pretty much only the renderer. So it's got all of the Chrome tools taken out. So it's just using, it's just able to render web technology in a Chrome window. So you basically get a blank GUI desktop window that has a web renderer. So here's some apps that are using Electron. Probably loads of you use Slack, essentially. Woo! So Slack is using Electron. The Atom editor from GitHub, obviously, is using it. Visual Studio, their new Visual Code. Visual Studio Code is built using Electron, as is Kitematic and Mapbox. I don't know what Mapbox is, but it's a pretty big app apparently. So I bunged it on there. Kitematic's pretty cool for Docker stuff. So creating a Electron app. A bit like with Rich's talk, you have a package.json, and you initialize. So Electron essentially is just wrapping up Node and the Chrome browser into one lib. So you have full access to all of Node. So line 1 and 2, we require app, and we require the browser window. 4 is a crash reporter, which will just dump out to the console when the app crashes, which it will, especially in developing, obviously. And then on window all closed event, if it's Apple, you have to call app quit. I don't know, it was a weird bug, but you have to use that. And then app on ready, we do main window equals new, browser window, we set dimensions. Then we load what will be rendered into your window, which is in index.html. Main window.open DevTools is pretty cool because it enables you to have a Chrome dev console. So you can use that for debugging, which will do a lot. And then just on closed event, we just set main window to null. And so here's the package.json. So name of your app, the version, and you just point main to an example or whatever your JS file is, and then index.html. Pretty self-explanatory. We don't know what that is. Don't know why you're here. So we just got a little basic hello world. We're using Node.js, and then we do a document.write process version, and Electron. We're going to dump out the Electron version to the window, and we will get something like this. So hello world. We are using Node.js 2.2.1, Electron 0.28.3. And because I've opened DevTools, we get the console. So my app is called Roast Tracker. So I decided, as I said, to use Electron. plus Angular, and then this thing down here is Materialize CSS. I use Materialize CSS because I just use Bootstrap. Everybody uses Bootstrap all the time, right? And I just couldn't take a week off and do that again. So the sort of minimal viable product features that I was looking to get in was to track and assign inventory. So I have green beans come in. They have a shelf life. They're actually quite long, about 2 years. But in terms of kind of rotation through health and safety and stuff like that, it's always good to track what I've got in stock. And then be able to assign that inventory to I'm using 500 grams for this roast, or if I'm doing a blend of various beans, then I'll say I'm using 250 from here, 250 from there. And then I need to be able to track temperature and roast stages. So I need to know exactly what the beans temperature is, what the drum temperature is, and sort of any external factors. And then the roast stages is essentially coffee goes through stages like popcorn. So it goes first through a drying phase. So that takes is when kind of the bean loses all of its moisture. It goes from green into sort of yellow color. And then the next stage is called first crack, and you actually start to hear the coffee pop like popcorn. So you hear pop, 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 pop. And when that happens, you're pretty much at a kind of really kind of light roast. After first crack ends, it then goes into another stage slightly after that, called the second crack, called the rolling crack, which sounds a bit like kind of taking tin foil and crumbling it in your hands. When you get to second crack, you're looking at quite a dark roast. So yeah, so I want to be able to track all of those stages, exactly what temperature it was at what point. And then be able to visualize the roast, so be able to produce a graph. So I was doing this in Excel previously, so keeping a track of in columns, kind of what temperature it was and at what stage, and then plotting that on a graph. I guess that is actually essentially an MVP, but that doesn't do this talk any good. And then be able to package that up, and bonus for it to be able to auto update would be amazing, especially as I consider the kind of getting this out and potentially selling it, maybe just releasing it as open source. So introducing AngularJS into our app. So we use Bower dependencies. We add Angular as a dependency. I didn't pin this. Sorry. It was a develop branch.
That's completely.
So when I go into master, I pin it. Then I don't.
Oh.
So yes, we add Angular as a dependency. I've added a bit more stuff about me there. It's not necessary. And then you're all familiar with Angular, right? This is JS Oxford. I heard it's like the new hotness. I think it's really cool, and everybody uses it now. So so line 5, we also this isn't an ID. It's got within as well. That was because I was made to remote pair when I was like years ago. I had to pair over SSH with other developers before Screen Hero. So I've been using Vim for around 6 or 7 years now. It acts like an ID for me because I've been working on the config for years. Sorry. So line 5, we take up our component, AngularJS, and we're just line 10 putting in hello world. And then just kind of inlining some JavaScript. So we define our app, which is on line 8, and then we create our hello controller, and we do a script.hello world equals hello world from AngularJS. And we should get something like that. So now we've got an app rigged up with AngularJS as a backend, which is serving up our desktop app, which is kind of cool. So this is pretty much where I was at after the end of the first day. I was pretty pleased with that. As I said, I hadn't used kind of Angular before, or Electron, or much JavaScript. So this was kind of new for me. It's cool. Yeah. So one of the issues I will have at that point was I had no way of being able to store my inventory, and beans is kind of the first thing that I want to do. A minimal viable product really is as soon as you have something that's usable and solves a problem. So it doesn't matter whether it's got bugs in it. As soon as you have something that solves a problem and is usable, ship it. So yeah, so for storage, I decided to use DistDB. Has anybody used DistDB before? So DistDB is a node module which essentially saves data, a bit like kind of Active Record-esque if there's Ruby developers, into JSON in a file. So we add that with our dependencies. So we add DistDB, and then we start to get a bit bigger. So line 10, we've got our page title, which used to be Hello World. And then we do line 24 here. We do a DB. We require DistDB. We connect it. So we connect DB and beans. So essentially, what this will do is create a DB directory, and you can give that a path as the first argument to wherever you want it to be. We're just going to use the top level directory here in the project. So it will create a beans.json file, and then we just create an array of hashes. So we've got a couple of beans. We've got an Ethiopian yoga chef there, and a Costa Rican Taratsu, and then down here line 37, I think that is. We do a db.beans.save beans, and then we just grab those out to our scope on line 39. We do a scope.beans equals dbbeans.find, and this will essentially go into that JSON file, return all of the beans that we have, and then we just set our page title to be coffee inventory, and we get that. So you can see it's successfully connected to the DB, and then our coffee inventory is now displayed. And just below, I just showed what the actual beans.json file that DistDB creates does. So it creates a unique ID for every record, which is handy later when you need to remove and add elements and append stuff. Do all the good CRUD work. So as I kind of started developing the app more and more, I need to look at actually how to package that app up into an exe file or a .app file, or for Linux. So here's just a quick example of how to do it with on Mac. So I've just added this script section because I got bored of typing electron dot every time. So you can do npm run start and or npm start, and it will just run the electron command. So we've added this build, and we've got some dev dependencies. So we've got the electron packager and electron prebuilt. So electron prebuilt is it's just pulling down a prebuilt electron package, and then our packager is going to use that and point it to the right files for our app. So we do a build. So we do electron packager dot is the directory. So it's our current directory. You give it your app name. So in this case, we just call it my app. We do a platform Darwin. Our architecture is x64, and this is the version of Electron that we're going to use. I bumped the version on line 14, but I didn't change it here. So there be dragons. That size though. So this alone for that one example is 101 meg. So for a Hello World Angular with DistDB, it's around 250k in size in total. Gets packaged up into 101.5 megs. Pretty unbelievable. But there's a way of fixing that. So we can introduce this ignore argument, and we can say ignore node modules electron dash. So what we're going to do is we're going to ignore electron packager, electron pre-built. Packaging on Windows was a complete nightmare. I will come to that in a second, but it all has to do with horrible node modules. So I had my app packaged up nicely, and I kind of, towards the end of the last day, got into auto updating. GitHub tell you to use Squirrel because that's what they want you to use for their auto updating. Electron is pushed as a cross-platform development, and it seems strange that Squirrel has no support for Linux, which kind of doesn't make it so cross-platform if you want to do auto updating, which I did. So the developer is really helpful here and said, cool idea, you should build it. You definitely should. That's like standard open source answer. He's not wrong. So I decided to use Electron Updater. So this uses NPM for updates. It requires that you have a private NPM repository, although in theory you don't have to. But if you're using closed source, or if you've don't want to release your app straight away and you're kind of in more stealthy mode whilst developing it, then you can use private repository. So it's a pretty frictionless update library, and it is truly cross-platform. The only drawback is it potentially exposes your code unless you package your app as an ASAR file. But that's a whole other talk. I tried. So for starting a private repository, has anybody used Sinopia before? So Sinopia enables you to have your own private NPM repository. So rather than pushing, when you do an NPM publish, it publishing to NPM being available for the whole world, you can set a registry. So you can do NPM set registry after you've started running Sinopia, and from then on, when you do an NPM publish, it will publish to that local machine. Or if you installed this like I did I think it was on DigitalOcean, I just gave it the IP address and the port 48473. I now have my own private NPM repository. I think you can get private NPM repository from NPM themselves. It's pretty cheap. But yeah, I didn't know how much legs this would have, so it seemed like a really cool solution whilst I was still developing. So we basically add some code to our package.json. So we add the line 11 at the top. We add the Electron Updater, and we enable plugins as well. Plugins is really cool if you want to write some plugins in like C or other languages and just make compiled binaries available to your app. So I think it's pretty much what some of the bigger apps would do. That's not to expose code because they're worried about piracy or losing secrets or something. And then we just give a publish config and we set a registry. And so I'm just pointing this to my local host. So this is rather than publishing it to the main NPM repository, it's going to publish to my local machine at 4873 on port. And then we just line 3, we add the updater. So we require Electron Updater, and we just basically start to wrap our window code. So updater on ready. So when everything's working fine, when there's no updates, we just load the window. We do everything as we normally would. If there's an update required, we close the app. It does the update and reopens. And if there's an update available, it does a main window.webcontents.send update available, which gives you a little pop-up window saying yes, there's one update available. It just notifies the user. So here I am doing a NPM publish to my local repository. So it posted roast tracker 1.0.16. So here it was before at 1.0.10. After the publish, it went to 1.0.16, and my app was updating. I'm not a graphics designer, so that's what you get for the update window. And here's the final app. It looks like a web app, I know. So I could make this look more kind of app, more desktop kind of friendly. Yes. So this is kind of where I got. So I've got my inventory. So I've got my Brazilian Santos. It's from South America. It's got a little globe icon. It's nice. I didn't need to do all that stuff. That's not really MVP, but it tells me when I last updated it and how much I have remaining. I haven't got a lot remaining because I did 2 roasts. One was kind of light roast. Both of them were light roasts actually. It tells me the time that I did them and the date. I can add new inventory, so I can. I'm adding a Colombian Huila, South American, 500 grams. So bought from Red Bear. I'm going to sample roast this to a half city. Then it just shows me what I already have at the moment. Here's one of my roasts. So I started the roast, and then around 5 minutes in, we hit the drying phase at 280 degrees Fahrenheit. First crack started after 8 minutes and 340, and that ended and then we dropped the roast at 10:46. Around 10:46, it pretty much got to the point where I wanted it to be, and we let it run a little bit longer, just while we turn the gas down, keep it going, and then we just basically hit the cooling phase, and we're finished. And then some nice graphs. You can hover over those, and one thing I did was added this feedback button because it's like a web browser. I was able, so I sent this actually out to beta. I've got 100 beta users at the moment, and what I did was I used doorbell.io, which just enables you to embed a feedback widget into your website. So I took the JS from that, embedded it into my app, and so when people click feedback, my beta users, they get a little feedback window pop up like they're on a website. They can add feedback, click send, it sends it to my email address, which is really, really cool. And it only shows if they have an internet connection. So we do a little check just check if they've got an internet connection. If they have, we show the feedback button, which was really, really, really handy. I was getting lots of emails, and I thought it'd be really cool just to kind of put that into a format. What were you doing if it was a bug? How can you reproduce it? What sort of steps did you go through? That was kind of added a bit later. Here it is in use. So here's my sample roaster. For my kitchen, my nice little teapot. And there's my MacBook. Now I am just tracking a roast log as it's happening. And is a Monsoon Malabar I did to a very quite light roast. And here's a website I made about a week later. And just push that out. So yeah, so it's coffee roasting for hobbyists, and with kind of just SEO and no advertising whatsoever. It's had about 100 beta users sign up, and so I constantly stay in contact with those, chatting to them every couple of weeks, just seeing how they're getting on, getting some feedback. I'll probably just iterate on this for a while, and then decide whether I want to make it a commercial app or not. I'll open source it. Any questions?
You said you did paired SSH Vim. What is that magic? That sounds amazing.
So all of us developers were scattered all over the place. So basically what we would do is use Tmux and Vim and open up an SSH port, and so people could then connect to my SSH into my machine. It would, in the SSH config, it would have when this person connects on this IP address or with this SSH key, execute this command, which was just load this Tmux.
So you can both share the same.
So yeah, Ryan and I use it.
I feel like an idiot all the time.
So this is the only drawback when you have people that use IDEs and don't know Vim and Emacs, because you can't tell them remotely. I just forced them to use Vim and listen to them cry over. It's horrible. It's like the editor's older than me, but I'm 30.
You said we showed the 101 meg for the file size. How small did you get it?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I forgot to add that. It's 21 meg afterwards. It's still kind of big. I forgot to mention that Windows auto updating failed horrendously because I included Lodash just to add some nice syntactical sugar. But Lodash has a bunch of dependencies, and so when you traverse that directory, that dependency has node modules, and then you traverse that node modules, and then you have all their dependencies and their node modules, and you have this tree that just goes on for ages and ages. And when you run the build command for Electron, it exceeds Windows 256 character command limit, which was kind of good in a way because I just started frantically stripping everything out. So I was like, I don't need Lodash, I'll get rid of that. And I don't need this. But even with very minimal dependencies, I think distdb alone pushed it over. That was a huge headache with NPM. I don't know. I don't know whether it's fixed or they're planning on fixing it. There was a few tools that enabled you to flatten it, but they weren't successful with Electron.
NPM3 brings that.
Okay, so yeah,
I think NPM3's got like a kind of as flat as possible nest directory of like modules or whatever.
But it
Yeah.
still allows you to have multiple versions of
Yeah, totally. So if there's like versions that collide, then it'll nest the one that collides or something.
Did npm dedupe not?
That's what I use. Yeah, so
Ah.
dedupe, but it still had too much for Windows to handle.
So what happens on Windows now with your app? Is there no auto updating?
Oh, so yeah, so the auto updater handles all that. 'Cause it just grabs the dependencies down. So I sort of package the initial version and then grab any further dependencies for an auto update script. It's pretty much the only way I could get around it within my 5-day time limit. After sort of hacking away on this Windows machine, which is my daughter's computer, because they refuse to let me use Linux or Macs at school. I sit there on a PC. And get all this stuff working and getting all these kind of notifications saying parental controls you're not allowed to install this. I'm a dad.
What build options have you got for Linux? Is it just to a binary, or do you get like a dev?
Yeah, you get a dev package.
Do you get an RPM as well? That option?
I think you probably do get the option. I didn't try that. I got it working on Ubuntu, which you can use their package.
When you're generating those graphs, is that done automatically from the sensors, or do you
Yes.
say this is the point when I'm going to do this?
So I use Node Serial, which is a library that gives you access to serial ports. And so I'm just basically grabbing information through a serial port into a USB, and then plotting a graph with NVD3. So just doing a refresh every second, collecting that data as it happens, and plotting that on the graph. Yes, I think it was NVD3 is a graphing library I use.
Where do you buy your beans from and what roaster do you use?
So I buy my beans from Red Bear and Coffee Bean Shop. I'm using a Huki and a Gene Cafe. Gene Cafe is pretty. The sample roaster you saw there is around sort of 360 pounds. You will need to get piping because roasting coffee creates tons and tons of smoke. It doesn't smell great. When people say freshly roasted coffee smells awesome, it doesn't. They've never smelled freshly roasted coffee. Coffee doesn't actually have a smell until about 24 hours afterwards. Like you can't drink coffee for the first 24 hours after it's been roasted, just because you pumped it full of CO2, and that works for degas and release, and then you start to get the flavour through. So kind of. It's interesting when I send out roast to people because like I literally roasted it the day before, and it develops over 7 to 10 days. So the first day it's quite light and fruity. It's almost like a fruit tea with kind of you get that coffee there, but it's really mellow and you can drink it all day. So around 3 to 4 days you start to get the bitter tones and the notes. And around sort of 7 to 10 days is pretty much when it's full bodied and you get the sort of real kind of punchy impact, and you're really sort of able to taste all of the sort of different tasting notes. And also the temperature of coffee. The optimum temperature is about 45 degrees. If you've got like a external, see those like laser things that you can take a temperature from. If you point out your cup and it's around 45 degrees, taste it, and then leave it for a minute and taste it again, and you'll start to notice that it gets more bitter, a bit more kind of full-bodied, even as the temperature drops. So coffee can wildly vary in the first 10 days, even depending on what temperature is when you drink it. So we all kind of have our preferences. But yeah, I vacuum pack. So I have certain people that like certain coffees after 3 days, or they like it after 6 days, and so I just put it into a vacuum pack and suck all the air out and then ship it off to me.
Seeing as everyone's asked where you get your stuff from, it's probably only apt to ask where do you sell your stuff.
I guess it's artisansoul.co.uk is where I sell my coffee. Oh yeah, about the exhaust pipes. So my neighbours all think I'm like drug dealer. Because it produces so much smoke. So I have all these kind of metal pipes going out of my kitchen. Sort of night time, you just see all these pipes going out and out. And sort of looks like Breaking Bad or something.
I noticed you said about there was a bug on Mac OS about having to do the quit thing. I think you misread that.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Can you go back to that slide?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Line 10?
yeah. So that's not saying if the platform is Darwin, it's saying the platform.
Oh, it's not
isn't
Darwin. Yeah,
quit.
sorry.
So normally when all the windows close, you quit the app.
Mm-hmm.
On Mac OS, when all the windows close, the app stays open until you quit it.
Yeah.
That's how it normally behave on Mac.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I knew it fixed the bug. It was probably must have been a Windows bug. Was it a bug?
It's just the difference in the way between Mac OS apps behave and the platform.
Cool. It's probably stolen from somewhere, like Stack Overflow or something.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Sorry.
What's the general story for Electron on the mobile?
As far as I know, Electron doesn't work on mobile, but there is.
Or I'll help you a bit. What would it take to move your code to something else?
So hopefully, so this is kind of where I've been taking the roasting app now, is kind of more to a hexagonal architecture. So using Electron as a delivery mechanism, because really the business logic of my app doesn't really care about Angular, and it doesn't care about DistDB, and it doesn't care about how it's delivered. They're very separate concerns. Like there's a very core business logic, which is tracking beans, the roast profile, and that's pretty much just data. How that gets delivered, really, my roast tracker app doesn't care. I should be able to take Electron out and put a web front end in, and it should just work. I should be able to take DistDB out, and I should be able to put an SQL back end, and it should just work. So that's kind of where I'm taking it more towards, is a kind of more hexagonal architecture. So I can kind of take Electron out, and even sort of like getting tied too much into Angular, I've kind of started to abstract a lot of the actual core business logic out from Angular. We shouldn't be writing our apps around frameworks, and we shouldn't let the frameworks dictate how the app works or how it looks. But we should be separating those concerns and how it's persisted is not really the sort of core concern of our business applications. And so yes, I'm probably a talk for another time, but that's kind of where I'm heading it. But I think there's a Ion or something is a JS library that enables you to use Angular and stuff to make mobile apps.
Ionic.
Yeah, that's the one.
So kind of related to that, what you just said, was like, so we use kind of Cordova or PhoneGap, which is a similar thing for like doing Android, iOS kind of apps. But we've hit problems with that when a user basically expects a particular behavior on their device. Like, so on Android, it's like a black back to kind of go back to screen where you don't have any. Have you hit any kind of similar things with using this on kind of have people not be able to use it on Linux or something like that? Or
no, it's all rendered fine. I think with mobile, it's a different game in that you've got kind of Apple have their human interface guidelines, and they have a very specific way of working. And when you submit it to Apple, they're looking that it's got that consistent feel that when a user downloads the app, they know exactly how it's going to work. That your back buttons have to go back to the last page, etc., etc. But I kind of guess with desktop apps, you kind of free to do whatever you want. So I made mine look like a web app, where I probably shouldn't have, and we'll probably change that. That confuses people. They think they're on a website.
Yeah.
When they use my app, that's kind of one thing that's come out. Things look like links. I've had other people say that they thought that was awesome. That like they got that kind of web experience but in a portable app.
I found a really weird thing with Slack. It's like when stuff's kind of screwing up, I press Apple R to refresh it, and it's just like it's such a weird thing that I shouldn't really be doing that in an app. Or something.
Absolutely. Well, I think in early versions of Slack, you could actually see it refresh.
Yeah.
So when you press Apple R or Command R, you can actually see this refresh. It's quite. I think even with my app, until I just only recently disabled it, but you could actually see it refresh.
I had an alt snap with Slack.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Excellent. Well, just that. I'm rethinking how much I enjoy working with Richard because I now feel wholly inadequate about what I do outside of work. Cool. Well, yeah. I mean, thanks to both the speakers. It's been really interesting. I've actually failed to keep a list of all the things I want to look up. So hopefully you guys will provide us with your slides so we can look them online. So we got a couple of pieces of news. Yay, news. Maybe it's less boring than that sound. So we've kind of maxed out the space here, and we realise it's a bit of a faff for everyone to move their desks and then put them back slightly off centre. So from next month, we're not going to be hosting White October. We're going to move to the Story Museum, which is way more central. So everyone who's got buses and trains and has had to traipse across town, it's way easier for you now. It's a really nice space. So yeah, we're going to try that, see how it goes. And it would be awesome when we'll put it on Meetup, so you'll find details there. But it'd be awesome if you could let us know how it is and what you think. And if we don't like it, we can go somewhere else.
Is that parking?
No.
No, it's Oxford. There's never really
parking. It's not too bad because you can park on Botley Road and walk down. And yeah, it's a bit easier for parking rides and buses and stuff. So, but yeah, we do lose parking. And we do have some other news as well.
Yeah. Also on that, it's also kind of magical. You know, it's kind of like really beautiful story museum place. Like it's I don't know. I think it's going to go quite well with JS Oxford. Other news. Yes. So another thing that we're going to try and start doing is this thing. So it's all kind of moving around next month, which is like really exciting. But the thing we're going to do is we're going to do JavaScript study group, right? Which is like this kind of thing where basically we've got these meetups where we kind of come and chat and you listen and learn stuff. Whereas this study group is going to be this kind of more frequent, but a bit less talky or something like that. So it's like we're going to have this kind of really informal get together in a cafe or somewhere in town where we're going to, if you come along, work on stuff. And we'll create stuff together, and it's kind of be even working on talks for if you want to talk here, then this is kind of place to do it, and we're going to start that next year. I don't know, but it's like it started from like OpenJS have this thing where basically they started this JavaScript study group, and this guy started it and said every week we're going to get together and have this meetup, and then he left. And the meetup kept on going, and a few months later, people started going back, and so it was just kind of like this meetup without any kind of person supervising it or something like that. It's like it ended up turning into this really kind of organic, beautiful thing. So we're going to try and make it organic and beautiful from the very start.
Ben likes beautiful things.
I like beautiful, magical things.
Another thing we're trying to achieve with it is like obviously some of the talks that we have. Rich is like a good exception actually. They're quite high level, so they're hard for beginners to come along and kind of get loads of value from. So we're hoping that we can get some like junior developers, people who are new to the profession, and we can all kind of help each other out on learning stuff and chatting about exciting things. So yeah, we'll post all of this on Gitter and Meetup and Slack and places.
Does anyone have any kind of things they want to say? Like announcements or stuff.
Should try that again.
Sorry, that's really boring.
Yeah, so like a while ago we started doing micro slots, micro pitches. So if you've got if you've got a job at the place you're working at, or you're looking for work, or you're working on an interesting project, or you're selling something, stick your hand up and tell everyone about it because it's a good chance to. And I'm going to nominate Richard to tell us about something first.
Cool. It's not the most big up. So I started games development. So I've been working with a friend for I've been working on it not quite as long, because we're working for 3 years. We've been writing a space 2D RPG RTS simulation game. The interesting thing is it's all based around social interactions and people. So before the game even starts, we generate 200 years of history for every single person who ever existed, what their job was, who they knew, who they met, who they married, what kids they had, and you can drill all the way through. And that kind of drives the motives for the game. So when you're in the game, You know, you're meeting people, you're finding out their story. That will drive your own storyline. And then we have the kind of more arcadey flying around space, beautiful top-down 2D, and you can trade stuff and get into combat. But combat's probably not something you want to get into too lightly, because that person could be connected to somebody else. Check it out. Soultrader.net. We're currently on Kickstarter as well. So I think we've got around 6 days left, and we need to raise about 3,000. We got coverage in Rock Paper Shotgun. We're at EGX, and got tons of really good feedback. It's all written in C, no object orientation. It's fast, it's small, it's cool.
So
yeah.
who
Sorry, Chris Parsons is the owner. He's the main developer. And
what was that website?
Soultrader.net. That's SOL Trader, as in solar system trader. .net.
Not Soul.
Yeah.
No, that's completely
trademark. Yeah, check it out. That'd be cool. Thank you.
In a few months' time, in April time, we're going to have RenderConf, which is the next jQuery UK. And there's a call for papers open at the moment. So if anyone's interested in kind of submitting anything, do that. It's good. And
It's a symposium, is it?
Sorry?
It's a symposium as well. Quite cool.
It's
toxic. Yeah, cool.
It's going to be good. But yeah, and also if you want any information on render, it's good.
Awesome. Has anyone got anything else to tell us about? In which case, I guess just say thanks again for coming, because without you guys, JSOC would be nothing. And we've probably got some beers left, and we'd have to be out of here anytime soon. If you want to grab a beer. After that, I'm sure Ben will be heading to the pub. I'm going to be lame and go home because it's past my bedtime. So yeah, cool. Again. Cool.
Thank you.